Look, I'm not a man of science, but you seem incredibly passed away. But it's good to see you.
G'day, mate. There's nothing that'll bring me back to life faster than a big bag of marble cash.
Oh, you had to get all noble and die for real.
God.
This is wild story here. According to the DOJ, USAID official and 3 corporate executives pled guilty to decades-long bribery scheme involving $550 million in contracts. Two companies admit criminal liability for bribery scheme and securities fraud. President Joe Biden's USAID awarded $800 million in contracts to businesses, nearly $1 billion in contracts, operating out of a Virginia home, even after it formally ruled that the key manager lacked honesty and integrity, a reference to the fact that, according to May 12 guilty plea, he had USAID contracts through bribery for a decade. This is why they had to shut it down. This is why you have to shut USAID down. This is wild. Now, there's a consequence. There's a reaction here that you're going to love. Get a load of this. The same time that Donald Trump, and this is the kind of work that I want Trump to be doing, okay? Again, the nuclear bomb is already here. Yes, there's a nuclear bomb. Yes, it's made by our enemies. Yes, it's being deployed against Americans. I believe it. It's true. But before, Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham go get their special socks, okay, let me explain what I mean by that. This bomb that has been deployed against us is the terrorist element that is baked into the bones of the 20 million criminal aliens that are here illegally residing among us, that are here to do illegal acts, that are potential terrorist sleeper cells. We know as a matter of fact, they are already here, that bomb is already created, and it's ready to explode. We've already seen the devastation in places like Los Angeles, where foreign mercenary armies are marching the streets, burning, killing, and attacking our military. That's an invasion. That is more prescient than Iran, okay? And I'm not making the argument that Iran needs a nuclear weapon. Of course not. There is no argument to be made there. I don't like it. I don't want it. And I got plenty of GWAT friends, Global War on Terror, friends who fought in those battles, who came back who never came back, who came back with horrifically maimed, mainly because of Iran. Okay, so I'm not saying that they're the good guys. I'm not saying that their leadership is good. But I am saying that fundamentally, it's not our problem. I'm saying fundamentally, there is a bigger problem, there is a bigger problem here in our country that we need to focus on. And that is far more prescient than that. All right? So why don't we solve that first? It's a great scripture about taking care of the log in your own eye before you look at the speck in your neighbor's eye, right? And this is a massive problem in our own eye. So let's take care of these things here. Another bomb that exists in our country, another nuclear bomb that exists in our country, is this type of fraud, graft, and corruption inside of our federal government. The stories like that of billions of dollars being squandered, misused, misspent, and given to our enemies. So President Trump took direct action against that, along with Elon Musk. Godspeed. Thank God they shut that down. They shut down USAID. Well, that's the action. Let's go ahead and look at the reaction. New York Times. The DNC is in chaos and it is in total desperation for cash. Look at that. Would you look at that? Oh, would you look at that? There's the meme. Would you look at that? Can you grab me that meme, Jerry? Jerry, can you, just look at it. Jerry, take this screenshot and add the would you look at that meme to it, please, for the show, for the chat, shall we? Okay. Just months after his tenure of new party leader, Ken Martin, Democrat National Committee's financial situation has grown so bleak, top officials have discussed whether they might need to borrow money this year to keep paying the bills. Fundraising from major donors, some of whom Mr. Martin has still not spoken with, has slowed sharply at the same time as he has expanded the party's financial commitments to every single state, and even to far-flung territories like Guam. Fellow Democrats are grumbling that Mr. Martin is the head of the DNC, who quietly accepted a raise after taking the post, has been badly distracted by internal battles. And so far, they say, he has been unable to help unite the party against Republicans who control the federal government. A protracted and public fight with David Hogg, the 25-year-old activist turned DNC vice chair, has blindsided the party officials, and the plan to challenge incumbent Democrats made things worse. The clash included the leak of embarrassing audio of Mr. Martin questioning his own role and ended in Mr. Hogg's unceremonious exit last month. That was soon followed by news that the country's most influential labor leaders, who represent a combined 2.3 million workers, were also leaving the DNC. Both questioned the party's direction under Mr. Martin. Oh, boy. Ruth Gifford, who served as the finance chairman for Kamala Harris's 2024 campaign and maintains relationships with top donors, suggested that Democrats were being sent the wrong messaging at a time when they were desperately looking for fight and leadership. This is wild. So they defund USAID. They destroy USAID and all of the fraud. And then the DNC is broke a month later. What have we been talking about on this program? We have said that USAID is simply a slush fund for Democrats. Here's how it works. And we just showed you. Okay, so we would use a number like this, but let's round the numbers up. Okay, so we just have a story that we just talked about with $1 billion in fraud from USAID. $1 billion in fraud. These shady figures that exist right inside the Beltway, right there in Virginia and Maryland. Okay, right outside of DC. We've often on this program used the example that USAID gives a contract for $1 billion. We've said this before a million times, but now we have the actual literal proof. Can you pop the article up? USAID gives these shady-ass criminals $1 billion. What happens to it? We often use the example. Building schools in Africa. Okay, it's the exact same thing. Work on root causes of migration, right? Here's $1 billion to work on root causes of migration. It's an esoteric and totally existential problem that, of course, you'll never be able to solve. USAID plows that money into the hands of shady activists who do what with it? They spend it. How do they spend it? Well, they could directly just take the money out of a bank account and put it in a duffel bag and hand it to a member of Congress. That's the way it used to be done. But now it's most likely done by paying themselves salaries of like $50, $100 million a year, paying themselves these kind of salaries that like NFL quarterbacks who win the Super Bowl don't get. They take those salaries, they take that money, and then once they've paid the taxes on it, it's in their bank account. They plow it into the coffers of the DNC. They plow it into the coffers of Act Blue. Act Blue then has a system in order to plunk through illegal donation mechanisms, through small donations that nobody knows, with no security verifications, they're able to plunk that into the accounts of all these Democrats running for Congress. That's the system. That's the machine. Bing, 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 bing. Bing, bang, bing, bing, boom. That's how it works. Now, when you cut those contracts, and you hopefully put these people in jail, when you eliminate those contracts, would you look at this? The DNC has no money. The biggest challenge facing Mr. Martin, back to the New York Times article, is financial. Six people, this is according to the New York Times. 6 people briefed on the party's fundraising, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the finances, frankly, said big donors, who are essential for the party's fundraising. Isn't that amazing? Oh, I thought this was a party of the people. We don't like big donors. We don't like billionaires. Big donors, who are essential to the party's fundraising, have been very slow to give to the party this year, as Mr. Martin solicits his contributions. His commitment to the state parties, which amount to $1 million in monthly spending, has further strained the finances. Senior DNC officials have discussed the possibility of borrowing money in the coming months in order to keep the operations fully funded. Isn't that amazing? The people that got us $37 trillion in debt now needing to borrow money just to keep the DNC alive. According to 2 people with direct knowledge. Mr. Martin acknowledged those talks. That's certainly not our plan right now, he says, tapping a line of credit. I don't know if we'll have to at this point. He noted the grassroots fundraising had remained strong. The party said small donations in the first 3 months were the most under the new chairman. Still, the party's total cash reserves shrank by $4 million in January. According to the most recent federal records, Republican National Committee's coffers swelled to roughly $30 million. New report due this week. The party, out of power, often falls behind with the one holding the White House. Still, the current financial gap is large, $18 million on hand for the DNC entering May, compared to $64 million for the RNC. Goodness gracious, so it's over double. It's nearly triple. Hefty chunks still sit in accounts that cannot be used for operational costs. In the first 4 months of the year, the only 3 people that gave $100,000 or more to the DNC, according to the Federal Election Commission reports, the party said that it received 3 more 6-figure donations in May from individuals. Goodness gracious. You know why this is happening? Holy smokes. It's happening because they know that they'll be investigated. Like if you give these obscene amounts to the DNC now, there's a Justice Department that has the potential for looking back to like, how much money were you paid by USAID exactly in salary? How much money did you get from federal contracts? Even as the party faces a financial crunch, the DNC increased Mr. Martin's salary this year. Federal records show his annual salary is now $350,000, up from $300,000. So he gave himself a raise. Isn't that just classic? Isn't that just like absolute classic champagne socialism for you? So he's giving himself a raise. His party is broke. They're having to borrow money, and he's patting himself on the back and giving himself a raise. Amazing. Yes, that's right. That's what Klein says. Please, the compensation committee. He's the head of the compensation committee. So he voted for his own compensation increase. Isn't that perfect?